Welcome to Basic Binges, folks, on the Nom Talk network. And today we have a very, very special show for you guys, talking about a very, very special movie that's near and dear to my heart, but also I consider it to be one of the greatest movies of the thousands. Disney and Pixar's WALL-E from 2008. We are celebrating the 15th anniversary of this monumental game changer. And I'm so excited to talk about this. I'm really passionate about this movie. And I don't share this passion alone. Obviously, critics all over the world, audiences all over the world share the same passion, for this movie, which is also about passion. But I can't do this alone. I gotta have like three of the most amazing guests on to talk about this movie with me. Round the room. Thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna have everyone introduce themselves. Julie, would you like to introduce yourself for the crowd?
Yes. Hello, I'm Julie. Tonight I am munching on some nachos. Nothing to do with Wally really, but I just wanted nachos and that's what I had available. So and I have a this new drink I'm gonna try. It's called Rebel. It's like immunity plus supports digestive health. I don't know. Sounds interesting. And some chocolate tortillas for dessert. So
That sounds amazing. Awesome. And thank you for being there with us, Julie. I also see you've got a little friend with you too, just like me.
Oh yes, of course. Had to have my little Wally buddy and match the color scheme as well.
Love it. Well, thank you for being here, Julie. All right. Mikey Flores. How about you? Would you like to introduce yourself? Yeah.
Sure. Hey, I'm Mike. I'm munching on a burger here. I forgot from Carl's Jr. It's left over, but
nice.
in the water. Nothing to do with Wally, but I'm looking forward to talking about this movie. It's one of my favorites. So yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, glad to have you here, Mikey. And I love your background too, pal. It looks gorgeous.
I don't have a artwork. Toy. I wish I had something like to put on me, but I have to go down to downtown Disney or something this weekend and pick something up.
They really need to make more Wally toys. It's not your fault that they didn't.
Agreed.
Yeah. But hopefully you'll be able to pick one up. Because that'd be great. And last but not least, Eric. How you doing, Eric? Love your background as well. Would you like to introduce yourself for everyone?
Yeah, hi everybody. Tonight I'm like you, Julie. Don't have anything Wally themed, but I'm eating Pokemon like gummies, which are fantastic. And I'm also drinking a twisted tea because I went to a barbecue earlier and I was just like, I could use these later tonight.
I love it. I love that. And twisted teas are the best, and so are Pokemon gummies. For those of you wondering, I am eating a cupcake in a cup in honor of that whole Septuptua, whatever, cupcake in a cup scene on the Axiom. I basically just took a cupcake and crammed it into a cup here, but I've also got a cup of tea to wash it down because I don't want to liquidize my cupcake in a cup like they do on the Axiom because it's kind of gross. I'm not going to do that yet. But that being said, really, really glad that you guys can join us. I see a couple of folks are in the chat. Hey, Q, our good friend Q's on. Thank you for joining as always. You are amazing, sir, and we always love hearing from you. But guys, before we get into today's movie, and we love Wall-E, it's all about love. It is Pixar's first romance. But we can't talk about romance without talking about the month of June because it is Pride Month. And we are here to talk as well a little bit about doing some fundraising for the Trevor Project, and the LGBTQIA plus community. Those of us watching and everything like that, definitely, hopefully we can work together to get some money raised for the Trevor Project to prevent suicide amongst those in the LGBTQ community in honor of Pride Month. And overall, I mean, it's a really fantastic cause, and it's basically also raising money for love, right? Because it's that's what that community is. It's all love, guys. So that being said, segueing from love to love, guys, I love this movie. I love this movie so much. 15 years ago, Pixar created this movie. And it's hard to talk about Pixar today and still think about the Pixar that was in 2008 when this movie came out, because to me, that was their rebel years, man. That was the years that they took the greatest chances, 3 years in a row, 2007, 2008, 2009. No other studio could have gotten away with making the movies that Pixar was making. I think if any studio in 2007, Pixar, basically said, hey, we're going to make a movie about a rat that can cook. People would be like, that's disgusting. We're not going to freaking do that movie. They did it, self-success. The next year, they were like, we got a movie that's going to be silent for most of this, except for maybe the names of the robots and everything like that. There's not really a whole lot of dialogue, and it's going to have an environmental message. No one would have taken a chance on that. And then the year after that, you had a movie about an old man and a boy floating away on a house together. No one would have taken a chance on that. And to me, these were like the greatest years of Pixar because they took the biggest chances. And as much as we love like some of the movies that they're coming out with today, Elemental's perfectly fine, Inside Out is classic, and all of that, I just don't think it got as good as these 3 years of Pixar. So my favorite of all was WALL-E because it's such a risky movie. It's such a daring, unconventional animated movie. And it because of that, because two characters that can only basically say their names and limited dialogue got me to love them way more than most human characters in most films. This movie deserves all the love and praise. So for me, I'm giving it a 5 popcorn rating. But I want to hear what you guys have to give it and what you guys have to say about this. So I'm going to open it up to you. Eric, I'm going to start with you. Popcorn rating and overall thoughts on WALL-E.
Oh, definitely this movie, like you were saying, definitely a 5. One of the greatest animated movies I think I've ever seen in my life, just because you have the two main characters that don't speak and it's just all emotion, but they're also robots. So to convey that emotion in this silent movie is fantastic. Plus also like going into this movie, it connects one of my favorite musicals ever, Hello Dolly. And for that to be the soundtrack of this movie, I was in completely. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but this movie is 100% my favorite of all time. And I don't have anything bad to say about it.
Wonderful. I agree, Eric. Mikey, what about you?
I'm gonna give it my first 5 on here. It's funny because behind the scenes, everybody knows this here that I was gonna give it a 4.5, but I had no reason to give it a 4.5. It was 100% a 5 in my book, but I was like, I can't give anything a 5. I was like, no, this movie deserves it. It's so good. It's a classic. It's just, if anything deserves a perfect score, it's this movie. It's so good.
Absolutely. And just for as Mikey was referencing, we totally conned him into giving him his first 5 on the show. We were like, why is it a 4.5, Mikey?
Peer pressure.
Yeah, it's totally peer
Exactly.
pressure.
There was no reason to not give it a 5. Yeah.
But there's to Mikey's point, we love that we were able to convince you, but more importantly, yeah, you're right. There's no reason not to give it a 5. It's a classic. Julie, what about you?
And in keeping with that tradition, I also give it a 5 because there is literally nothing wrong with this movie. It is a great movie. I'm going to say it's in my top 5 Pixar movies and definitely in my top movies ever. So, yeah. I mean, it's solid.
I'm curious to see what's on that list, the top 5 list. But
you want to know? I can tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
Save that for
what's on the list.
Well, okay, so Up is up there for me. I don't know, something about Up just really, really got to me, and I love that movie. So yeah. Up is on there. Toy Story is on there. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm blanking, but those are okay. Let's say top 3. Those are my top 3: WALL-E, Up, and Toy Story.
Honestly, those are all, you picked all the game changers. Those are perfect movies. Honestly, you can't do better than those. WALL-E and Up are my 1 and 2 always. And I think WALL-E for me is always going to be my number 1. But Up is a very close second because it's that heartbreaking opening sequence, but this adventure that it plays out, it's wonderful. But I love Wally so much.
Mhm.
For me, I think as I mentioned, with so little dialogue, we understand what's going on with these characters. That's hard to do in these movies,
Mhm.
especially animated movies.
Mhm.
You know, look at this little guy. This cute little bastard right here has no face. He's got two goggles for a face, but we know what he's thinking. How the hell did they pull that off? That's one of the reasons why I love it. And you know, in the chat, I think with we got our friend Andy on there as well. Andy kind of mentioned that the silent movie references are straight out Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, and I couldn't agree more. I'm a huge Chaplin fan. One of my favorite films of all time is The Gold Rush, and that's what Wally really evokes for me. Are those feelings of watching a Charlie Chaplin movie with an underdog, you know, clumsy character, happy-go-lucky character. He's just so perfect for that. But I kind of want to go down, you know, just to get everyone's thoughts on just the story and the strength of this story, and what you guys thought when you first saw it. I mean, Julie, I'll start with you. What do you think of the story overall, and the kind of complex layers of this movie basically has to offer, when you first saw it, and even watching it today? I mean,
When I first saw this movie, I was blown away because, like you said, they make you care about robots, like robots that aren't supposed to like have feelings or anything, but they do. And like, because but it makes sense because they have evolved at this point in time so far down the line that like it makes sense that all of the things they've absorbed over their long lifespan, well, especially Wally, because we assume he's been around for that whole like 700 years. um you assume because that's when they started the Wally program or whatever. Like, all the things that he's absorbed, he's just evolved. Because, well, there was another thought I had, but I'm going to save that for later because we're going to go into the part, probably talk about that part later. But so yeah, and then just the cutting edge animation and the way they depict space and the beautiful like scenery and images, like I again blown away. And the whole story, and like you said, yes, there are tons of complex layers to this. Like it's the story, it's the love story, but underneath it's the story of like the human race and like this dystopian world. So it's kind of like this terrible like backdrop to this beautiful love story that emerges. And like, but then there's like everything you can want. There's like hope, and there's like, I don't know, it's just, yeah. I don't know what else to say right now.
I don't think there's much more to say. I mean, that was beautifully well said, Julie. Thank you for that. Eric, what about you from the story perspective? I mean, like, how would you, what did you think when you first saw it, and why do you think it holds up so well today?
Well, I think it holds up so well today because, like I said, the musical incorporates Hello Dolly. It's very much the same lines of one of the lead characters, Cornelius Hackle, in that movie. Wally's journey is that same of like wants to be more than he is, and he's lived on Earth for 700 years, and then he discovers more about himself, falls in love with Eve, and then goes on to this big exploration of space and finding out who he is and becoming the hero at the end. It's just timeless and classic, and I think Stanton did a really good job of getting Hello Dolly and mixing it in with this movie and then updating it to its post-apocalyptic world. And it's a fantastic story of love and loss and hope and strength and power. And that's why it's the best movie out there that Pixar, I think, has done.
Yeah, it's such a complex story, and I love that about it. Mikey, what about you?
Yeah, I think the reason why this movie endures and why people still love it to this day is that it's a very simple story that, like, if anybody, like, we know Hello Dolly, we know like a lot of different types of movies that this is kind of like based on. But if you're just a kid going in and watching this, like, you're immediately drawn into this character that is very childlike, and you just within the first few minutes you just feel for this character. You get what he's going through because he's in this world by himself, and anybody can relate to that. Like, just working hard, doing your job, being curious about things, exploring things, and then finding love for the first time. This is like all things that people have like experienced before. Even kids, they kind of have a sense of what this is. You know what I mean? So that's why it just endures. It's timeless, basically.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I love, and you'll notice this, I mean, like with Pixar, ever since the first Toy Story movie, most of their movies tend to be these buddy pictures, right? Like it's usually like two unlikely allies are paired up to do this kind of quest, either usually for a MacGuffin or either usually for something, you know, something here. And I think that Wally is no exception to that because it pairs up Wally and Eve, but it takes it a step further and it creates this romance between these two characters. And really, what they're doing is saving the world, inadvertently so. You know, it's a story about two different things. It's all about love for sure, not just love between Wally and Eve and the boundaries that anyone and the lengths that anyone would go to for someone that they love when they fall in love. You know, going to the stars and back just for them. But also about the love that, you know, we would need to give to a planet like Earth. You know, I'm reminded, and Eric, I know that you'll appreciate this, of the last song that they play before this movie wraps. It only takes a moment to be loved. You know, the whole way through, I think, or something like that. And it couldn't, it couldn't be more applicable to not just Wally and Eve situation, but how we should be treating Earth and the type of love that we should be having for our planet, and how that love, that little bit of love, could persist in creating, you know, in keeping this world, you know, clean and wonderful and pristine and, you know, a habitat for us. You know, all it takes is a little bit of love and a little bit of care for this world. And who better to show us that than these two characters that are all about love, that are only love, like the full embodiment of love. You know, I mean, Wally's a symbol of neglect, basically. You know, he's been left on Earth to do absolutely the, you know, not by himself, you know, by a program that basically just abandoned it. And, you know, because that sense of love persists through him for Eve, love gets poured back into Earth as a result of all of that. And it's just so wonderful, guys. It's so much more complex than any animated movie ever had the right to be at the time. Yeah.
Well, I also think it's very cool too, like the robots that were like broken in the ship that we also get this moment of like, no matter how like damaged or like kind of weird you are, you can come up and save the day as well. So it's also like a journey of hope between the human race and them as well, which is also one of those complexities. It's not just love, it's like everything. It's great.
Yeah, it's
even outcasts can fit into society, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
A place for everybody.
A place for everybody if you just give everything a little bit of, if you just gave a shit, like a little bit of a shit, you know, about like everyone and everything. You can't just abandon these robots because they're broken, which is what that society has basically done. Even society itself is broken and they've given up on it, you know? So but if they manage to just care a little bit, care enough like the captain does to get off of his chair and to actually do something about it, you can actually fix things, even the robots, you know, the broken robots. And God, there's so many layers and so many allegories in this movie. It's so multi-layered. I love it. I love it completely. I'd like to talk about the casting in this. And I think that that's a very unique thing to touch on because this is not a traditionally casted movie. Yes, we do have voice talents like Jeff Garlin and Kathy Najimy and Fred Willard making the first like live action character debut in a Pixar movie. But more importantly, we need to talk about the true star of this movie, Ben Burtt. And he is not a household name for anyone. He was not in a Marvel movie. He was not in a Star Wars movie. Well, he was in a Star Wars movie, but in a different way. You know, he wasn't like on screen in the Star Wars movie. Ben Burtt is a sound designer and a sound engineer. And if I'm misrepresenting that, by the way, please forgive me. But he basically invented all of the sounds that we hear in Star Wars, R2-D2, BB-8, all of these different sound designs that we hear from the droids, and ultimately kind of gave these droids personalities. This movie, which is 90% dialogue from robots that we understand and we grow to love, is because of Ben Burt, 110% his work. And that's the casting that I want to talk about and why it's so incredible. I mean, what did you guys just think about this? Like, his sound design and what it does to bring these characters to life. Mikey, I'll start with you.
I thought it made the movie, basically. You know what I mean? Like the fact that like they only spoke their names, but the inflection and the way they said things like that, you know, you can understand what they were saying. There's an old acting exercise where like you only have one word to say and like you have to say it a couple times, but through different inflections of your voice and like, you know, eye contact and stuff like that, you can describe a scene that's happening. And that's kind of what this entire movie is. It's just basically it's like one long exercise in like how to use eye movements and like body language and stuff like that, and how to tell a story and how to show empathy through characters that only have like one word to one word to say, but they can still be relatable to the audience and understand what they're saying. It was groundbreaking. I mean, it was, I think for a lot of people, especially like kids, that's the first time they've probably been introduced to something like that. You know what I mean? It's like they're learning about like a very like necessity, like a very integral part of acting through an animated film. And I thought it was great. And sound design, learning about sound design through this animated film, it's amazing. Like it teaches.
It really is. Yeah, it really does. I agree with you 100%. Eric, what about you? Thoughts on Ben Burt?
Oh yeah, no, everything that he did in this movie, from him, just the different ways he said Wally and everything like that, too, even his little sounds, like when he ran over his little cockroach and everything like that, just those little things, as well as like the design and everything, just made this movie what it is and made this what it's best. And like he definitely like honor him and being able to do that with the sound design alone. It's fantastic, and then he should have gotten an award for this, but did he? I don't know if he did. I'll have to check.
I don't think Wally won anything other than animated feature, which is a robbery. Yeah, like I don't even think it was nominated for best picture, which it deserved to be. I mean, like, it just goes to show that the Academy has just this unfair bias against animation. I'm gonna get off my soapbox before I just lose it, but essentially, yeah, I think Wally was absolutely robbed of most Oscars that it was nominated for. But yeah, I'm sorry, Eric, I completely interrupted you. Continue.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, he should have definitely won an award, and this movie should have won way more awards than it inevitably didn't. But yeah, no, he should have won an award because what he did was just brilliance, pure brilliance.
Absolutely. Julie, what about you? Sound design and Ben Burt, I guess, as casting.
I mean, I pretty much echo everyone's sentiments. It's pretty incredible. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, that every little nuance meant something, and like you said, you knew what they meant, and that's an incredible feat. Like, there's other characters now that like Groot, for instance, where like I also think that's pretty incredible. But this was probably one of the first times, like you were saying, that had really been done. I mean, well, Star Wars, the droids. I'm always forever impressed with someone's ability, whoever is creating these droids and the sounds, to make us care so much about these robots and make us, like you said, understand exactly what they're saying. So yeah, like you said, it very groundbreaking, I think, and very much like just super talented to be able to do that. Like, as an actor myself, like, it's hard to say the same word over and over again and make it mean different things, I mean, you can do it, but yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world.
And as you were talking about that, Julie, I couldn't help but also think the same thing as you. Like, when you have a character like Groot, and the different inflections when you say I am Groot, you still bring, like, Diesel does a great job bringing emotion to that and everything like that. But the big difference is Vin Diesel's an actor. You've got a guy in a voice booth saying that. These sounds are coming from nowhere, and Ben Burt is engineering them. And it's just, it's genius to convey that level of emotion from it. I'm going to rattle off a couple of movie titles for you guys, because this is what was nominated for sound editing and sound mixing that year. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a snob. 2008 was a terrific year for movies,
Mm.
but The Dark Knight, Iron Man, Slumdog Millionaire, Wanted, best sound editing. That was the category for best sound editing. It went to The Dark Knight. For sound mixing, Slumdog Millionaire, Benjamin Button, Dark Knight, Wall-E, and Wanted. It went to Slumdog Millionaire. Here's where I think Wall-E got robbed for both of these.
Yeah.
Granted, Dark Knight is wonderful. Slumdog Millionaire is a great movie too.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the excellent sound editing and sound mixing for Wall-E, this movie would not exist. This movie is all sound editing and sound mixing. Dark Knight could hold without, I mean, it's you've got a story, you've got actors, it's a wonderful movie. But if you did things differently with the sound design or sound editing, you'd still have The Dark Knight. Slumdog Millionaire, same thing too. You're not really watching any of these movies for the sound.
Right.
But Wall-E is driven entirely by the sound, because if you don't have the sound, you don't have the characters. And while I love these movies so much, to Eric's point, God, this movie got robbed. Ben Burt got robbed. I mean, come on.
Somebody in the chat said they created 2,400 unique sounds were created from scratch for Wall-E alone. They just said that. That is insane, and it didn't even get an award for that. Come on.
He at least deserved a special Oscar, like a technical Oscar or something like that. When they do the Science and Technology Awards, they should get something for that at least.
Yeah,
it really should have. This movie got robbed so much. It just emphasizes a bias, I think, in Academy standards. Stuffy old white guys in their 70s going oh, that's a kids movie. I don't want it to win, So.
And isn't that the last?
They'll die soon, and then we'll have it.
Yeah.
And isn't that the last year that they had only 5 Best Picture nominees, and after that they had to expand it?
Yes, because both Dark Knight and Wall-E got screwed. That's why.
Yeah, so Wall-E would have if it came out later, I think it would have gotten definitely a Best Picture nomination for sure.
Yeah, for sure, because the following year was the year that they finally had 10, and Up was nominated for Best Picture. And the year after that, Toy Story 3 was also nominated for Best Picture. But Wall-E was robbed. Don't get me wrong, I love both Up and I love and Toy Story 3. They're terrific movies. But there's a reason Wall-E's my number one. Debatable for sure. But I think it should have been nominated for Best Picture. I mean, does anyone really remember The Reader? Really, guys? Does anyone remember The Reader at all? Nobody remembers. Does anyone remember Frost Nixon? Nobody cares or talks about Frost Nixon the way that we talk about Wall-E today.
No, not even a little bit.
No, not even. We don't even talk about Benjamin Button that much, I mean, other than to potentially make fun of it. And that was nominated for Best Picture that year. I mean, it's highway robbery that this, and also The Dark Knight for that matter, didn't get nominated for Best Picture that year, when so many inferior movies ended up getting nominated.
Sometimes I think too that they're oh, well, this movie didn't get nominated for Best Picture, so maybe we can just throw in a Best Sound Design for it, I don't know. I wonder sometimes if they're they feel bad that one movie didn't get nominated, so they squeeze it into a different category.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's
always
that's why they gave
movies.
it Best Animated. Yeah, exactly, right.
The blockbuster movies get
movies.
sound or editing or something. Sound, sound
visual effects.
That's their consolation prize for being
right. That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. I think they do that sometimes. At least we gave it something.
Yeah,
I mean, they're starting to do that anyway. Look at Angela Bassett just getting an honorary Oscar because she hasn't won anything. It's
despite the fact that she gave a better performance than Jamie Lee Curtis in Everything Everywhere All at Once, I mean, come on. If you were going to give it to anyone in that movie, Stephanie Hsu should have won it, but Angela Bassett deserved the Oscar that year. I don't know. They just gave it to her because she's Jamie Lee Curtis. But I mean, even in 2018, do you guys remember what won for Best Picture that year? I'll give you a hint. Black Panther was nominated. Black Panther took home a lot of awards, and maybe Black Panther shouldn't have won Best Picture, which it didn't. But something way worse than Black Panther won Best Picture. Green Book. Green Book won Best Picture.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie sucked, guys. Green Book is a terrible piece of shit.
I never saw it. But
and I'm not saying Black Panther should have won Best Picture, but it was a 10 times better movie than the one that won. So just, they awarded technical awards because, But, we're getting off topic. Wall-E, I guess they felt oh, it's an animated movie, so we'll give it the animated movie Oscar, and that was good enough. Which is highly unfortunate. Academy, do better. Come on, stop being snobby. I'd like to kind of take things back on track and talk about the directing and the cinematography in this movie. This hands down might be one of the most beautiful movies put to film, not just in animation, not just in Pixar's history, just in general. Andrew Stanton's direction, the cinematography. My favorite scene of all time is the one behind me, the dancing scene, which, by the way, this is fan art by a wonderful artist. I'm totally going to butcher their names and not, forgive me for not crediting them on this just because I can't read anyways, but they did a wonderful job on this, and it reflects probably the greatest scene I think in this movie, the beautiful scene, which is the dancing sequence with Wally and the fire hydrant and Eve with her rings, and they're just kind of swirling together and personifying the definition of dancing. But more than that, the very opening, beginning sequence with Wally on this desolate earth, setting the mood based off of how everything looks. It's a wonderfully, animated and gorgeous movie. I wanted to talk to you guys about what you thought of all of that. Julie, I'll start with you. Animation, direction, cinematography. What'd you think? Favorite shots too, if you have any.
Oh yeah, I mean, all three of those things, I think A+. Like, and as I was saying before, like, I'm always so impressed, but like, because I don't even know what goes into like directing an animated movie since I've never really worked on one. I've only worked on like regular films, and so like I mean non-animated, so like I'm always just so fascinated. Like there's got to be so much that goes into it. There's so many multiple bits and pieces, and for it to all come together in this beautiful movie, as we were saying, yeah, I mean, I think that the people doing it were the best of the best. Like they definitely pulled the right people for this. Favorite scenes, yeah, I love the dancing scene too. It's just beautiful. It's cinematically beautiful, like the colors and the details, the textures, like it really feels like you're in space with them, I would also say, I had more scenes in my head because I did a rewatch of this just last night. So, but now I'm like, there's so many good ones. I mean, I just like even the little moments, like the moment between John and the woman, I forget her name, where they
Mary.
fall in love. Is it Mary? Yeah.
Mary, I think, yeah.
And like they finally turn off their screens and they're like, whoa, like there's a world out here. Wow, look at, we never even looked at this ship before. Like, I think that's just a great moment. Again, that great direction there as well. And the way that you kind of see things, the way that they're seeing them too. So that's some nice cinematography as well. And yeah. Oh, okay. I have another favorite moment. It doesn't really have to do with cinematography or anything, but the cockroach. Can we just talk about for a second? I just love it's like an inside joke, right? That cockroaches survive everything. Like that cockroaches would literally survive an apocalypse. And I love that they take every chance that they can to hit on that. Like they're like, oh look, he got run over, he's fine. And look, he got blown up, he's fine. Like, and I guess that's part of direction as well,
So, Julie, I'm going to have to interrupt you because Timspiration redeemed sing mode.
Oh, no worries. I was actually dead anyway, but sing mode, oh boy.
Going forward, we're going to have to sing for a little bit.
But
Eric, in addition to singing, somebody also redeemed You're So Punny. So I'm going to kick it to you so that you could sing a pun and get it all out in one go, because it only takes a moment.
I was definitely seeing that come up over the chat, so I've been trying to get ready. But what do you say if you want to start a fight in space? Come at me, bro. But no, What was the question again? I do apologize, Mike.
My apologies. It is the direction and the cinematography and your favorite beautiful scene.
I really think the direction of this film is fantastic, going from the desolate earth to with the trash buildings that Wally is building, to the beautiful shots out in outer space when they're going to the Axion. Those star scenes alone are worth a million words. Also, the direction from Andrew Stanton and him writing it was wonderful. Coming up with this idea of a quiet robot in space and trying to save the world was brilliant and sweet, and I loved it. But my favorite scene would have to be Wally driving through the city, playing his little Sunday clothes song while he's just happily working along, and then coming to the scene that's behind me, to where you get the first like instinct of his emotion and his longing for other things in the world. But I think that's all I have to say right now. Thank you, Mike.
Very well done, sir. Very well done. I'm going to kick it to Mikey now to get his thoughts on cinematography and direction. Mikey, what were your favorite scenes or shots in this gorgeous movie?
I think Andrew Stanton was amazing in this movie. I especially liked how, in a world that's full of dirt, he managed to bring out Wally's personality by showing that while his home was dirty and covered in dust, it was organized and in order, because it shows thoughts into developing a character and developing a world that people could relate to in this movie.
Well done. Stephanie, are we clear of singing? Do we have to continue singing? Okay, we're clear. Thank God. Everyone
I'm
hydrate.
actually a little sad that I missed most of that.
Also,
You want to continue? Okay, Julie.
No, it's okay.
Coming
We don't
up,
have to.
doing a pun joke while you're singing and trying to think of how to do it is very fun. Thank you guys out there.
I figured you'd want to get rid of both of them all at once. I mean, like, I didn't want to. I killed two birds with one stone, right? Like,
Oh yeah, no, I saw them pop up and I was like, crap.
like back to back. Okay, we'll just get rid of them all at once. You know. But yeah, everyone hydrate. Thank you for singing. Amazing job. On the topic of cinematography, there's also one more shot that stays with me that I guess like everybody. One of the best scenes I think in any Pixar movie is I think, was it Eric or was it Julie who said when they're going up into space, that traveling into space was, I think it was Eric, right?
When it,
Yeah.
they touch, when he
Eric,
touches
when Wally touches the rings of I guess Saturn, and he's just like, all those stars are like swirling, you know, underneath his hands. It's such a gorgeous shot.
That was beautiful.
God,
that
I
was
love
a
it.
beautiful shot. Yeah.
The shot as well of Wally looking up at the sky and, you know, wondering what else is out there, which Mikey is on your background, and he's got his hands like this, you know, like as he's longing for love. That's such a great shot too. There's also this is an unintentionally beautiful shot, but it's meant to be more comedic. When Eve gets pissed off and blows the living crap out of like the magnet and the different like tanker like ships that are all together, and they all just start
and it blows up and it's all on fire.
And they're just sitting there against the glow of the burning ships. Like, it's gorgeous.
That was great. Yeah,
it's really gorgeous.
I love that scene,
but it's also hilarious. It's such a well done. Well, it's such a well done scene. I wanted to talk a little bit because it is Nom Talk Network. There's not a whole lot of food in this, but the food that there is in this, it's kind of interesting references to food of our time that I guess wasn't present in the future. Of course, we've got cupcakes in a cup, which is weird, and breakfast foods in a cup, and lunch in a cup, which is, it all sounds horrible to be
pretty
honest.
Much everything's in a cup, right?
Everything is in a cup. but you know, it's so great that the captain and everybody else on the ship are looking forward to actual real solid foods that they could grow on the ground, like pizza plants, apparently.
Pizza plants.
I love that
So
line.
Grow
We're gonna
pizza.
grow pizzas. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna grow
we're gonna grow
pizza.
pizza.
That
Yeah,
would be
and
wonderful,
then
actually.
and then also there's a great Twinkie reference in this because Twinkies
Mhm.
never go bad, right? So Wally
I was
just takes out a Twinkie and lets Spot eat the Twinkie from inside. I mean, were there any little food references or drink references that you guys got a kick out of while you were watching this one? In honor of this being Nom Talk, of course.
Yes, I do enjoy that the captain, when they first wake him up and you see him, like, gets carried up to the like captain's deck and everything, and he's just like, "Don't talk to me, give me coffee," because
Right.
like there's so many people who are just like, "Nope, I need to get coffee first." And I was like, that's such a human reaction to
Yeah.
waking up in the morning.
Mhm.
And the fact that like
I-
they're still needing coffee in the future, you know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
that hasn't changed.
That doesn't change at all.
I love
Like,
the Twinkie
even
bit.
Yeah, the Twinkie bit was great,
That
right?
was like that was just so funny to me because like every time you think about like a post-apocalyptic world, it's like, well,
Twinkies.
Twinkies survived and cockroaches, so there you go.
Yeah,
Cockroach eating
exactly.
Twinkie.
Twinkies and cockroaches.
Twinkies and cockroaches. I love it. Man, what a stellar movie and great concepts. And honestly, I think the last thing I really want to talk about, and I feel like I could spend all night talking about this, is kind of just the lasting legacy of this movie. What it means to Pixar, but also what it means to cinema. And again, just we talked a little bit about the story and why the story is so important. But what is it about this movie do you guys think just leaves this lasting impression and makes it a timeless classic? I mean, like, yeah, it could be a combination of everything that we've talked about, but there's a reason that this was selected as one of the greatest films of all time for the National Library or Preservation for Congress or whatever. There's a reason that this is selected as one of the Criterion Collection movies. You know, it might not have won Best Picture, but it's so well regarded and it's considered one of the best films of its decade, of the 2000s, if not even the past couple of decades. We are probably going to be talking about Wall-E for years to come in ways that we're not going to be talking about Lightyear, sad to say, you know, but why is that? Why was Wall-E so much more impactful than most other animated movies of its time? Eric, I'll start with you. I know it's a big question, but your thoughts.
Well, I know that we've been talking about like the complexities of this film and how many like layers it has and cinematography and anything. But if we really look at it, it's a simple story of him wanting to get more and wanting love. And just that's literally all the story is. And that's some of the best stories in time, is a love story, is simple, wanting to do better and wanting to find love. Like, that's the entire movie. And I think that's why all of us drew to this a little bit more, because there was also no words, like, and we understood it. And it's easy for children to understand, adults to understand, old people to understand, like, and it just warms our heart. And so I think that's why all of us still have this connection to it, at least in my opinion. But that's the best I can explain it.
Follow-up question, and definitely I would love everyone's take on this too once, you know, they also discuss the legacy of it. Pixar is now in the habit of making sequels to some of their all-time movies. Should there ever be a sequel to Wall-E?
Not a sequel to Raleigh. They've done their little like runoffs of the little robots.
Yeah.
But no, Wall-E does not need a sequel. Like, I don't really want I like The People Got Home, but I don't want a story with them. I don't want to see people on Earth rebuilding and everything like that. No, this is perfect standalone capsule movie that does not need to get one remade or a sequel. I'm just saying that now.
Amazing. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Julie, thoughts on your thoughts on the legacy of it, and would you ever want to see a sequel?
By the way, sorry, they're like plumbers working on my place right now, and
No,
they were
it's
supposed to be done already. So I don't know if that's coming across in the background. Anyway, the legacy of the film is, well, I think there's so much to be said. I think it's still so relevant today. Like that message is never going to go away. The message of like, we need to take care of the earth. And it's kind of chilling to think like how it's really not that far off from what could happen if we don't take action and be careful, basically, and give some care, as you were saying before, because all it takes is for some people to care. And I love that message, and that message is going to resonate forever. And the legacy of the whole thing, just like it's cutting edge at the time, the message, the story, like it's going to resonate, I think, for many years into the future. Like, I don't think any parts of this story are not going to resonate with people. I just can't see that happening. I can't see like this ever not having parts of it that are relatable. And then a sequel, well, I'm inclined to say no as well, although I would kind of want to like maybe like a spin-off or something, like maybe like a spin-off. I just kind of want to see what happened to like the captain and the people, that's the only thing. Like it's a perfect movie. It doesn't need a sequel, but like my curious brain kind of wants to see like how they're doing. Did they actually develop the earth in a better way? And like, are they taking care of it better than their forefathers did or whatever, So there's part of me that's curious about that. But yeah, maybe like I could see it being like a spin-off series or something on Disney Plus, maybe, like, I don't know, just because of my curiosity. But it doesn't need a sequel for sure.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, like, Disney's in the habit of printing money. We all know that. I think that they're all too eager to try and take a concept of that. If they do try and do something with WALL-E to make it some sort of a franchise outside of maybe the various shorts, like the Mo short and everything, I hope it's kind of like a nonfiction approach, like, the quest to build a WALL-E or the quest to rebuild this planet and protect the planet, but in vein of WALL-E rather than any direct narrative storytelling sequels or anything like that. I think there's ways that you can definitely honor the concept and honor these characters without actually doing anything to destroy the story that they gave to us, because it's pretty perfect. Michael, thoughts on the legacy and your thoughts, about whether or not a sequel should ever happen for this or a spinoff.
I think the legacy of this movie is that, is that it created characters that'll live forever. I mean, everybody will know Wally and Eve.
Yeah,
those are just like, aside from like going to Disneyland or Pix or California Adventure, everybody knows these characters. Everybody knows what they look like. The eyes, they know that, so it'll endure. The legacy is that the characters are so realized, so well thought out, that they'll last forever. And also the legacy of the movie itself, that the message that it had, I think, because even though it was like 15 years ago, there's still we could like almost be heading towards that direction. There was like a leader that like screwed up the earth and like just trying to cover things up, and like there's like people that are addicted to their devices and stuff like that. And it's like it's a warning, but it's like it's like a constant warning. You know what I mean? That's why I think the legacy of this movie will endure like that. Will endure, the message at least, and the characters. Whether or not a sequel should ever happen, I don't think so. But I wouldn't mind like a Pixar short in front of a movie or something, just to like, not even a series, just like a short in front of a movie, just to like show us Wally again or something, or the cockroach or something, just to see like a little peek into the world and like, oh, they're still around, just to see them again and to hear Wally again, that would be fun. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I don't know if I ever want to see a series or a sequel, but short would be fine. I'd like that.
I think a short is good, and even look at Up, because you could argue Up is a perfect movie. The shorts that they put out for Carl and Doug, they haven't diminished the legacy of Up. They're very cute on their own. I don't know if you guys saw the Carl's Date one from Elemental, if you guys had gone to see Elemental, but there was
I haven't yet. I'll have to check that out.
There's actually a very heartwarming short called Carl's Date or something like that in front of Elemental, which is really sweet. But yeah, a short to that capacity, to your point, Mikey, with Wally and Spot or Wally and Eve, definitely wouldn't tarnish or diminish a wonderful movie like this. I'm gonna pose a question to you guys, and Mikey, you kind of got me thinking. I mean, like, we're living in a very divided world today, a very divided country at the very minimum, where people are very much against Disney for political reasons and silly reasons all in all together. with a movie like Wall-E, with a message as strong as it was, let's say Wall-E wasn't made in 2008. Let's say Wall-E was supposed to be made today. Do you think it would have gotten made? Do you think that people would go, do you think it was the right time for a movie like that to come out? Because I think people were open to the idea of the betterment of the world. But I think right now people, tend to think things are preachy or things are woke or whatever. Do you think that this movie would be appreciated by, the world today were it to have come out today?
I hope that people would see past their prejudices and and watch this movie and like be open to the message. I don't have hope for humanity is like that in that way, but I mean, just seeing how the world is nowadays. But I mean, I don't, for me, I don't see why this would be such a hard message to get across to people. I mean, at the root of everything, this movie is about love. It's about love, finding love. It's about loving your planet. It's about loving your job. It's about, it's just about like enjoying life and loving. And I could see why people would kind of take issue with that or not, whatever nowadays. But I mean, if you can just look past that and just understand, or not look past it, but open your mind to it. That's what I meant to say. If you can open your mind to it, or accept it for the message that it's putting out there. It's a great message, and I think we need a movie like this nowadays. I wish this movie came out now, because I think we need something that is this bright and hopeful and about love and about good relationships and showing people doing the right thing. Like the captain, he had every reason to be just this lazy guy that didn't give a care about anything. But he wanted to do the right thing. He chose to do the right thing against the computer that was trying to hold him back. So, I mean, these are great messages. These are great role models. And, I really I think it would be great if it came out around that time. Plus, it probably would have gotten nominated for in a Best Picture or something.
Well said. Yeah. Eric or Julie, any follow-up thoughts?
Oh, yeah, no, I think if it would have came out today, it still would have been as good as everybody loving it as they do now, because we have this movie, we have Inside Out, we have Soul, we have Elemental and everything like that, and those give the kind of the same feel that Wall-E gave, but Wall-E's perfect. So but no, people would still listen, and everything that Mikey was saying, I can't say anything any way better than he did.
I would say I agree. I think it would still get made today. I mean, also because Pixar has just been given so much creative freedom nowadays too, because their movies have done so well. I think they can kind of make whatever they want at this point, to be honest. I mean, maybe not whatever they want, but it's a thin line. I think they have a lot of freedom. But I also think that I think the message is going to resonate with people. Maybe it would have a slightly different audience just because of what you're saying with the political stuff. But Disney obviously and Pixar still have their audience, and it still would have found its audience 100% today. So yeah.
I mean, in the spirit of Wall-E, I would hope, just because Wall-E is about hope and about endurance and about love, that people would be receptive to the message today. I mean, granted, it's very easy to be cynical about the world nowadays. I definitely think that there's definitely an audience out there that would look at an environmental message as something that threatens their way of life, because, climate change is apparently a myth to some people, and conspiracy theories are out there saying that, where the environment's just fine when we know that it's not, and a movie that sheds light on it would definitely be perceived as a threat against the political platforms of selfish individuals. But at the end of the day, you're right. This movie really is about love, and it's about empathy. I think and I've been neglecting the chat all night, so sorry to Andy, sorry to Cue Ball. You guys had said some amazing things. I think, Andy, you mentioned that Andrew Stanton talked about this movie basically talking about the message being that Wally is shouldering the burden of humankind's misuse of the planet, ultimately finding love and bringing empathy back to revive the Earth. Yes, that absolutely. And then Cue Ball, I think you also mentioned that no one can top what they did with Wally. They did everything right, no sequels needed. Yeah, and I agree with a lot of that. To me, to speak to both the legacy and the impact of this movie and what it means today, first off, for me specifically, I'm a hopeless romantic. I've always felt very much like a kindred spirit to Wally, the clumsy, happy-go-lucky idiot that, is always dreaming about love and everything like that, and would totally fly to the stars for the girl that I love and everything like that. But more importantly, I mean, just the idea that, doing these simple things to try and help the planet that you love, to try and continue to make this world a better place with the people around you, is such a strong and palpable message today. It's also the most human message on the planet, pertaining both to our planet, but also to our humanity. And the irony of it coming from two animated robots, no less, it makes it even more enduring and palpable. So on that note, we are officially out of time. I want to at least just go around the table and see if we, if everyone can speak to where everyone can find you. Eric, I'll start with you. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms except for the Bird app because I deleted that a long time ago. But you can find me there at Heartless7. That's HARTL, the number 3, SS7. And yeah, no, I'm just going around. You can find me here mostly every week doing something.
Amazing. Eric, thank you so much for everything here. Mikey, where can everyone find you?
Grib C47 on all socials. And I think I'm going to be here this Friday for Secret Invasion. And if anybody's at Anime Expo, say hi, because I'll be there at least one or two of the days. So we'll see you around there.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Awesome. And Julie, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, I'm on mostly all the socials, but my two mains are going to be Instagram at JRaelyn, JRAELYN, and on TikTok at JRaelady, JRAELADY. And yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at TidyBullBoy182, but also my work can be found on thenerdsofcolor.org, as well as whattowatch.com, and that's at LA. Honestly, guys, to conclude this, let me just say that it only takes a moment to be loved a whole life long. So thank you guys for joining us very, very much. We love you guys, and stay tuned for our next shows. I think we've got later this week, Secret Invasion recap for episode 2 on Friday. And then I believe we've also got on Wednesday, I want to say, Secret Invasion part 2 on Friday. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.